My boyfriend's mom looked down on me because I was poor, not knowing I could buy her house 3 times over. I'd been dating Ben for 8 months when he finally invited me to meet his family at their annual charity gala. We were sitting in his car outside this massive estate when he turned to warn me that his mom Lauren was really strict about social circles and basically only liked rich people, but I shouldn't take it personally. I nodded and told him I understood, even though my stomach was churning with nerves. What Ben didn't know was that my father actually owned half the companies in this city, including the parent company that Ben's family business answered to. I kept it a secret by going by my mom's maiden name instead of my dad's. Not to mention I worked at a nonprofit and lived in a small apartment. When we finally walked into the ballroom, Lauren looked at my simple black dress and her smile froze. She asked where I got it, but before I could answer, she turned to Ben and started talking like I wasn't even standing there. She told Ben she'd been working on something special for his future for months now, something that would change his life completely. Then she looked directly at me and said it was such a shame that some girls didn't understand the importance of marrying within your social circle, but thankfully she'd found the perfect match for Ben. She went on about this heiress from their parent company who managed philanthropic endowments worth hundreds of millions, making pointed looks at me when she mentioned she wasn't like those girls who thought volunteering at food banks made them Mother Teresa. When I stayed silent, she got bolder and explained how this heiress's family owned the banks they used, their suppliers, even the building we were standing in. She turned to me with this fake sweet smile and said she hoped I understood that Ben needed a partner who could contribute to his future, not someone who would hold him back, and that dating was fun but marriage was about building empires, not playing house with someone's secretary. She actually pulled out her phone and showed Ben the emails she'd been exchanging with the heiress's father, making sure to angle the screen so I could see them too. She said they'd already arranged for the heiress to attend tonight's party, that she should be arriving any moment, and then looked at me and said, maybe I'd like her autograph since I probably didn't meet many important people at my little nonprofit job. I just smiled politely, and she continued talking about how this heiress had been raised for this exact kind of life, attending state dinners and diplomatic galas, not happy hours at Applebee's. She actually asked me what neighborhood I lived in, and when I told her, she wrinkled her nose and asked if I had bars on the windows. Later on, she asked Ben if he'd explain to me how these events worked, speaking slowly like I was a child who'd wandered into an adult conversation. When I reached for an hors d'oeuvre, she actually moved the tray away and said the caviar was probably too rich for my palate. Maybe I'd prefer the crackers. At one point, she even introduced me to her friends as Ben's little friend who did charity work. She said, wasn't it sweet how some people thought giving away old clothes was the same as running a foundation, and that the heiress had just funded an entire hospital wing for her birthday. She also kept steering Ben away from me throughout the night, and when I tried to join them, she actually held up her hand and said they were discussing complex financial matters that required a certain level of education to understand. She suggested I might be more comfortable waiting in the ladies' lounge where they had magazines. Maybe I could catch up on celebrity gossip while they handled real business. The worst part was when she started talking about breeding and pedigree, saying the heiress came from 5 generations of titans who built this country, not immigrants who came here on work visas. She looked at my shoes, which she called Payless Specials, my jewelry that she claimed was turning my skin green, everything about me with this barely concealed disgust. She actually stepped between us to whisper something to Ben about not making any promises he couldn't keep to the help, loud enough for me to hear every word. 2 hours into the gala, Lauren's phone rang and my father's name was displayed on the screen. She excitedly put it on speaker. He asked if his daughter was at the event, and Lauren said she hadn't met the heiress yet, just Ben's current friend. My father said his daughter should be there, then mentioned my name, and the room went completely silent. Lauren's face went from excited to confused to absolutely mortified in the span of 3 seconds. She started stammering about my dress and my job. My father asked if I was being treated well, and I told him that it was time to find new business partners. Lauren tripped over herself trying to explain that she'd been testing me all along, that she knew who I was the whole time. I looked her straight in the eye and said that the only thing she'd proven tonight was that money couldn't buy class.